Hello Internet, it is time to have a look at the team I reached 7th place in the world with. So here we go, wow, what an experience Worlds was. But let's look back a little bit at the history, I suppose, because if you've been watching my channel, you might have seen on the 26th of July and the 28th of July I uploaded Showdown Lives using this team, which is pretty similar to what I used at Worlds, to be honest. This is the team that I had seen going around on Showdown a little bit, and I wanted to try it out myself. The team that I'd scouted out had Dragon Dance on the Rayquaza. The Xerneas was really bulky as well. The Smeargle was scarfed, but it had some different moves. The Arcanine had like Safeguard and Extreme Speed. The Amoonguss had Red Card. So it was an interesting team. It was something that really sort of clicked with me, I suppose. And it was actually during this video, during the Showdown Live 123, that I realised that, wow, actually, it's really similar to a team that I've already used this season. So, you know, half a year ago, just over half a year ago at the Wakefield Regional, I used a really similar team, like 4 of the same 6 Pokemon. The Arcanine, swapped for the Talonflame, the Scrafty swapped for the Kangaskhan, but that team worked really different. But I used that team at the Wakefield Regional because Rayquaza and Xerneas were my favourite 2 restricted Pokemon, and I really wanted to make those 2 work. They were pretty different to what I ended up using at Worlds. The Xerneas was still Geomancy, but in this Wakefield one, the Rayquaza didn't set up. It had Origin Pulse. Not Origin Pulse, that would have been interesting, wouldn't it? It had Water Pulse, so that with an Expert Belt as well, so that I could knock out pretty much any Primal Groudon. So, it was basically almost like a Big Six team, but I had a Rayquaza instead of a Groudon. In theory, the Rayquaza would basically cover the Groudon. It would be better against Groudon than my own Groudon because I could outspeed it and I could Water Pulse it and knock it out. I had the Amoonguss on there as well because I wanted something to help with Trick Room. The Smeargle on that version wasn't scarfed either. I didn't go very well at that Wakefield tournament, didn't do very well. The Smeargle didn't have Protect on it, which was a very big oversight, and I just sort of discarded the team and didn't really look back at it. I just sort of looked at Rayquaza and Xerneas and just sort of put it to one side. But, obviously until July, and I started using this team, and like I said, it really did click with me. And if you've been watching my channel for quite a while, then like over a year ago now, actually, I did this video about knowing your playstyle and knowing your teams in VGC. And, it clicked with me because there was some disruption on there, there was some sleep on there, and there was lots of setting up on there. The Rayquaza on this version had Dragon Dance, and obviously Geomancy with Xerneas as well. And in 2013 I got 9th at Worlds with Lipard and Brillium, so disruption and sleep. In the Nationals that year, Terrakion had Swords Dance, my Volcarona had Quiver Dance as well, Cresselia had Calm Mind as well. I did change things around a little bit at Worlds that year. In 2015, Cresselia did have Calm Mind all the way through as well, so there was that sort of blueprint there. In 2014, maybe you remember I won the Nugget Bridge Invitational with Raichu and Azumarill, with Amoonguss's help as well, so that really sort of really has a connection to this, Protect the Xerneas kind of team as well. And even this year as well, I got my invite before Nationals by abusing, Disruption, with Gravity and Sleep there with Grass Whistle and Hypnosis, and setting up with the Swords Dance on the Groudon as well. So, this is something that I'm really comfortable with, and that is why the team clicked with me, I guess. But I wanted to change things around. I wanted to make it my own. I wanted to do things better, really. So this is the final team that I ended up using at Worlds. There's the Disruption, Setup, the Sleep, and we're gonna have a look at each individual Pokemon now. So we're not gonna look at it in this order. We're gonna start with the restricted Pokemon because these are really, I suppose, what the team are built around. So let's have a look at Xerneas first. Now this Xerneas is timid. It was max speed. I thought that was really important. I did try like the bulkier Xerneas. Bulky does allow you to go modest, which is actually really nice. Like the special attack boost that you get from modest is actually pretty significant. It means that, you know, with minimal investment you can do what, you know, more than what this timid Xerneas can do. But I just felt like timid Xerneas was so important just because you really do want to be outspeeding the primal Pokemon, because you don't want to be taking an Eruption, you don't want to be taking a Water Spout before you get your Geomancy up. It's also nice to be able to outspeed things like, you know, Rayquaza before it Mega Evolves as well. You know, you're at least speed tying with, you know, potential max speed Evoltol as well, because you don't want to get knocked off if you're sitting there trying to Geomancy. But you know, really, I mean, I like Xerneas as a Pokemon. You know, I really like the design. You know, maybe think of, you know, Princess Mononoke, which is, you know, one of my favorite films as well. You know, it's such a cool Pokemon, and it is really the ultimate setup Pokemon. You know, Geomancy with a Power Herb is just unbelievable. Obviously, that means it is, you know, a massive target for the metagame, though. So, you know, like I put there, you know, I thought that, you know, maybe I suppose some of my reservations of using Xerneas was that, you know, especially going into Worlds, people are going to be prepared for Xerneas. But, you know, with the right support, maybe, you know, maybe you can jiggle your way into a victory. I mean, Geomancy is so good that really you just need the right moment, and even if they are prepared for Xerneas, then you still got a pretty good chance of winning as well. So, you know, I felt pretty nice with Xerneas. You know, I did see, you know, a few comments going around on the internet as well when I was playing through Worlds that, you know, this, you know, Xerneas Rayquaza team was, you know, perfect for my style as well, which, you know, is correct. It really is. Like, I really, really like Geomancy, and I'm glad I finally got it to work here. The EVs are quite strange, and, like, I don't know, I feel like with Xerneas, a lot of people EV to take hits. And I have played around with, you know, Xerneas that can take 2 Brave Birds, and a Xerneas that can, you know, take an Adamant Kangaskhan Fake Out Hand Double Edge, or, you know, 2 Precipice Blades, or something like that. But I felt like if this is my main Pokemon that I'm going to be attacking things with, this is my main offensive force, I think my main point of EVing is actually going to be on the offensive side. And so, although it's not, you know, an amazing sort of spread, to be honest, I mean, it's not an amazing benchmark, the special attack there knocks out at +2 just a 4 HP Xerneas. So if they've got, you know, 252 special attack, 252 speed Xerneas, well, you know, if I Geomancy up and knock them out or hit them with a Moonblast, then that will always knock them out. That means that I can gauge how bulky the Xerneas are if they survive. It also means with this special attack investment that I will, even with some investment, be knocking out Mega Kangaskhan, which is really important. The rest is honestly just a bit of a dump, really, into HP, but it was a massive, you know, key dump, actually. Like, I am glad that I did put quite a bit, you know, the rest of it into HP here, because, you know, quite a lot of games I did, well, you know, quite a lot, maybe a bit of a stretch, but in, you know, at least maybe 3-4 games, my Xerneas did survive on, like, literally 2 HP, which came in really key into winning that game. So, you know, these HP, it's not exactly built to survive anything specific. It's just, I needed that amount of special attack. That was really the minimum amount of special attack I needed. And the rest of it, I just wanted to put into bulk. And it really did help out. So, you know, maybe not the most intricate spread. The special attack is there for what I needed. The speed, I really did want to go max. I didn't want to be losing, you know, out to other Xerneas, basically. You know, the mirror can be a little bit nasty. And the rest of it is just in bulk. So, the other side of the restricted slot of my team is the Rayquaza with the Focus Sash. Interestingly, it is pretty much the same as the Rayquaza that won Worlds. It's just that I'm pretty sure, looking at Wolf's report, he was just 252, 252. I've gone with 2 for 4 and then 4 in HP, defense and special offense. Just because at the beginning of the season, I'm pretty sure Jamie Boyd showed me the calculation of like, it's gonna sound silly, of like a Cloyster Icicled Spear in the Strong Winds on, you know, just a 4 HP Rayquaza. It's got a very, very good chance of one-shotting it. With 4 HP and 4 defense, it's got a very good chance of surviving it. So I don't know, you know, just a little bit superstitious, I suppose. I didn't want to come up against the Cloyster, and I suppose, you know, at Worlds you never know what you're going to be playing as well. I mean, Cloyster could have been quite good. You never know, you know, Shell Smash out. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, like, I just wanted to, you know, there's really no wiggle room of doing anything spectacular with this spread, really. I'm not using Assault Vest. I just wanted to be as fast as possible. I didn't want to be, again, losing out to other Rayquaza that might be Adamant, maybe. Adamant Rayquaza, max speed, does speed tie with Mega Kangaskhan as well, so I didn't want any of that. The 115 base speed is really nice. It does mean that I'm only really threatened by a few things, you know, maybe Greninja that are faster, Mega Gengar as well, you know, basically anything that's just a little bit faster than Rayquaza is maybe a little bit of a problem for the team, but base 115 does cover most things. You know, Mega Salamence as well could potentially have been a bit of an issue, but, you know, obviously I've got Rayquaza as well, Xerneas as well, rather. So it is another setting up Pokemon. I've got Geomancy on Xerneas, I've got Swords Dance on Rayquaza. It basically meant that if I could get into a position where I've got a Geomancy up with Xerneas and I've got Rayquaza out, then I can, you know, Swords Dance, you know, quite happily. Like, they are kind of either forced to target the Xerneas and knock it out, in which case I get a Swords Dance and continue to threaten, or they leave my Xerneas alone, you know, targeting the Rayquaza, and I've still got my Geomancy Xerneas. So this double setup worked really nicely. Extreme speed, you know, with the elevated priority, you know, even the buff +1 is really, really nice as well. A +2 Swords Dance. Extreme speed does normally, I'm pretty sure it's like a 15 in 16 chance of one-shotting, normal 4 HP. Talonflame as well. Talonflame could be a bit of an issue for this team, so it was really nice to have that too. You know, +2 Dragon Ascent knocks out Kyogre. It knocks out almost anything, really. It's got a very good chance of knocking out, you know, no bulk Groudon as well. Only really steel types, and I suppose some electric types, and, you know, really bulky Groudon could actually survive a +2 Dragon Ascent. So it's a really nice, you know, second setup Pokemon to threaten the team. I suppose one of the problems with Rayquaza is it does only, you know, target one Pokemon at a time. Xerneas can Dazzling Gleam all over them. Rayquaza can only target one Pokemon at a time. That is its, I suppose, its biggest drawback for a setup set like this. So we've got our two restricted Pokemon. We've got Xerneas, we've got Rayquaza. Now, thinking back to, you know, what I'm comfortable with, we want some disruption and we want some sleep as well. And what better than good old Smeargle? So everyone's favourite Pokemon, clearly. Wow, so this is a really interesting set. I mean, this really is the ultimate support Pokemon. I went for Own Tempo. I didn't want Moody because I am running the Choice Scarf on this. I didn't want to get any you know, accuracy drops or speed drops or something that would really sort of mess me over. I was happy with my speed with the Scarf, so I didn't want to risk you know, that happening. I didn't want to get swaggered as well. Although, you know, like I'm pretty sure I said in a video a few days ago, no one used swagger on my Smeargle. So actually, considering that I have got Fake Out on this Smeargle, Technician would have technically been the better ability. But I don't know if I would be bold enough in the future to use Technician Smeargle instead of Own Tempo. Then I'm sure people would start using, you know, Tita Dance and swagger on my Smeargle. But yeah, but anyway, so I went for Dark Void, which you kind of have to. Fake Out is really nice on Scarf Smeargle as well. I mean, it kind of sounds counterintuitive because, you know, if you've got a Choice Scarf and you use Fake Out, then you're locked into Fake Out. But you can always play the mind games, and this is the thing with Smeargle. You've got to, well, you really do have to play the mind games because, you know, especially if they know you are Scarfed. Because if they don't know you're Scarfed, then you can use Fake Out on the partner as they use Fake Out on your Smeargle, and maybe that's a free Geomancy turn 1, maybe that's the game won pretty much there and then. So, you know, Smeargle, if you get it right, it's, you know, an unbelievable, a phenomenal support Pokemon. And Ray Rizzo, you know, again did say in commentary that, you know, I made very risky plays, but every play I made worked out right for me. And again, you know, like I was saying with that video, knowing your play style, you really have got to play to your strengths, and predicting turn by turn, you know, these mind games, 50-50 mind games, is something that I do think I'm pretty good at. You know, if I went into Worlds with, you know, a bulkier team like, you know, like the team Wolf went in with and Marcus and Billa, then, you know, there's a good chance I wouldn't have got top 8, just because that's not my style of team. This is my style of team. I did want, you know, obviously I wanted Dark Void and Fake Out. I did want some other nice options as well. I did see, going back to the team with the Arcanine on it that I saw people using on Showdown. I did see some people using Quick Guard on their Smeargle. I did see some people using Taunt on their Smeargle, their Scarf Smeargle as well, for things like Crobat and stuff like that. But I didn't really like those options. I wanted Transform because obviously, if it gives you like lots of other win conditions if you transform into your own Pokemon. I actually I used Transform more at Worlds than I thought I really would actually. Transforming into my own Xerneas, transforming into my own Rayquaza, transforming into their Groudon, against Jamie Boyd, transforming into their Arcanine, transforming into their Whimsicott. This Smeargle transformed into quite a lot of things actually. And it works nicely with Switcheroo as well. I mean, Switcheroo is really nice with Choice Scarf, I think, because it means if they lead with something Trick Room, like a Bronzong or a Cresselia or something, I can Switcheroo a Choice Scarf onto it, and then it's locked into Trick Room. They are kind of forced to switch it as well, else they reverse the Trick Room. If they've got Gyro Ball as well, if it is a Bronzong, then it really reduces the damage because it puts their speed up too, which is really nice. Any Xerneas that want to try and set up in front of me, if I don't want to fake out our Dark Void, I can maybe try and chance a Switcheroo, the Scarf, onto their Xerneas, lock them into Geomancy, so they're locked. They've got to use Geomancy their next turn, and then they've got to switch out as well because they're locked into Geomancy, so that works quite nice. As well, if I Switcheroo off my Choice Scarf, if I am against a pretty slow team, there's a decent chance that my Jolly Max Speed Smeargle is still going to be faster than them, and I can get some use out of it, maybe with Dark Void, or maybe with Transform as well. So there are really lots of mind games here. The spread is, as you can see, not very spectacular. Just max speed. I didn't want to be losing, against other, at worst speed tying against other Scarf Smeargle, basically. I want it to be as fast as possible. And it's just max HP as well, and 1 into special offense, because I got the 30 IV of defense there. I'll talk about that in just a moment. I didn't want to go, I was basically debating on this EV spread or one that put a little bit of physical bulk into Smeargle so that it survived 100% of the time a -1 intimidated Groudon's Precipice Blades, because that means I would be able to switch Smeargle in on a -1 Groudon quite safely, and then survive and Dark Void and do all the rest of it. Like it is at the moment, I still think I've got, it's either about a 40 or a 60% chance of surviving it, it's something like that. But I just wanted the max HP there because I thought I was going to be using Transform more than I would be switching into -1 Groudons, and having more HP for your transformed Smeargle is a bit more useful, I thought, just to get a bit more bulk on your transformed Pokemon. So I really did like this actually. This Smeargle is fantastic. The IVs there, 30 in attack, 30 in defense. I wanted, I didn't want to go like, 0 attack because I've got Fake Out. So, if I can get an extra 1 or 2 damage from Fake Out, then that would be good. But I went 30 attack and defense. It doesn't lose me any stat points, but it means that if I do transform into something with Hidden Power, then I've got Hidden Power Ice. And I thought that's probably going to be the most useful sort of Hidden Power. I suppose I could have put it as Water, or I could have put it as Fire, but I just felt like Ice was probably the safest thing to put it as. It didn't come into play at all, I don't think. I'm pretty sure I did actually transform into a Groudon with Hidden Power at some point at Worlds, but didn't need to use a Hidden Power Ice there. So again, using Scarf, I think people used Scarf quite a lot at the beginning of the format, and then it kind of got overlooked. And it was just sort of got put into one of those items, one of those Pokemon that popular opinion was, oh, it's bad, don't use it. Socially conditioned to not look at it, sort of thing. And so people might have overlooked it. Think, oh, Talonflame just knocked it out, and all the rest of it. Maybe like a Mach Punch. I don't know. It's pretty easy to one shot, but actually the Scarf was fantastic. Really, really, really good. And I suppose another criticism that people have of Choice Scarf is that, oh, it doesn't work in the best of 3. Well, clearly it does work in the best of 3. If you've got options like this and you can play the mind games, there are lots and lots and lots of games at Worlds that I led Smeargle Xerneas all 3 games, and sometimes I would do the same thing. Sometimes I would switch moves up. If I got the move right, then chances are I was winning the game. If you think about my round 4 against Tony, the Japanese person with the Big Six team, that was on my channel, I think, a couple of days ago. I sort of conditioned him into, me just using Fake Out every turn. Game 3, Dark Void, bang, you're asleep, I've won the game. And it's as simple as that, really. So if you can play the mind games, if you've got options with Transform, with Switcheroo, with Fake Out, with Dark Void, then yes, it does work in the best of 3. So yeah, really, really happy with Smeargle. Next Pokemon then is another support Pokemon. We've got Scrafty here. Nice that the Scrafty that I used was actually offspring of one of Lyo's Scrafty. Lyo, who top got Worlds. I think he got 8th at Worlds last year with his Scrafty on that team as well. So we've got a royal Scrafty line going here. This Scrafty is not really of any surprise. The EV spread is not spectacular, and maybe you're looking at this EV spread thinking, oh, he could have done something with that. Well, actually, there was a reason why I did just go 252, 252, with Adamant as well. Yeah, I suppose I could have maybe gone sassy, or I could have, you know, careful or whatever, and made it so that I could always survive like a water spout or something like that, but it really wasn't really necessary, actually, just because the EV spread here is really simple, but I needed as much attack investment as possible because Bronzong was a really big problem for this team, and the combination of this Adamant max attack knockoff and a +2 Moonblast would knock out a Bronzong with those 2 hits. If I didn't have Adamant, or if I took some investment out of attack, then the chances of knocking out Bronzong with a knockoff and a +2 Moonblast, you know, vastly went down. So I really did need as much attack investment into this Scrafty as possible. I was actually considering at one point, you know, putting like an expert belt or some kind of boosting item on the Scrafty just to make sure that it could do some more damage, because Scrafty is actually a Pokemon that I've used a fair bit in the past, actually, but it is generally not in the style of my usual kind of team. It is, you know, like I put on here, very sort of slow and passive, and it is really just for supporting. It's not normally used for attacking things, really. But yeah, it is a fantastic support Pokemon. It's got the Intimidate, which is what my, you know, that Wakefield team way back in January was missing. So Intimidate is really nice. It's got the Fake Out as well, you know, a second Fake Out, which obviously helps with setting up Quick Guard as well, which, you know, helped out really nicely against Jamie Boyd. You know, that video was on a couple of days ago as well. And against Talonflame, because again, Talonflame is an issue for this team, so Quick Guard was nice. You know, I could Quick Guard on Thundurus's, you know, taunts and Thunder Waves and stuff like that as well. It's really good against Evoltol, although, you know, I've already got Xerneas for that. It's really good against Kangaskhan to get the Intimidate, so that it can't touch my Xerneas for so much damage. I mean, there's not really too much else to say about this Scrafty. I could have gone with an Assault Vest, but I really did want that Quick Guard. The Lumberry also helps against Smeargle as well. It basically meant that if they led Kangaskhan Smeargle, then, and I led Smeargle Xerneas, one option I could have is protecting the Xerneas and withdrawing my Smeargle straight into Scrafty, because if they do Dark Void, then I've got my Lumberry, I can Wake Up, I can use Fake Out on their Smeargle a second turn, and because they're intimidated, I can Geomancy and go from there. And because I do use Fake Out on the Smeargle, I'm breaking its Sash as well, so it gave me options against Kangaskhan and Smeargle, so I really did like the Lumberry. I wouldn't change that, so really, really happy with this Pokemon and how it worked out. It's important to have Scrafty here as well. I really was considering Hitmontop. Would have been funny if I did have Hitmontop. The amount of Hitmontop actually did well at Worlds, because you know maybe with close combat it does a bit more damage and whatnot. Intimidate's nice as well. Fake Out, it can Quick Guard too, but Hitmontop can Wide Guard as well, which is nice. But Scrafty was really important because I needed the Dark typing. I needed the knockoff onto the Bronzong. That was significant. I needed the knockoff. So Scrafty, brilliant Pokemon, really, really good support. But the next Pokemon we're going to have a look at is probably the one that you've been waiting for. It's everyone's favourite Fire Moth. Here we go. Here's Volcarona. And, well, you know, let's bask in its glory. Its fiery wings. You don't want to go, you know, stroking its wings on the thing, else you'll get a burnt hand. You'll know what I mean if you've been feeding it cakes. Incidentally, on the flight over to Worlds, I did feed all my Pokemon cakes and stuff. Maybe that's why they performed for me, or maybe not. But either way, here's the Volcarona. And you know, thinking back to you know, that team with the Arcanine and the Amoonguss on it, you know, that I saw people using on Showdown. You know, Amoonguss is the one with the red card. Some people did actually, and there was one person at Worlds that did have red card on their Arcanine actually. But Volcarona beats Amoonguss, and really it means that I win the mirror if, you know, if they've got like an Amoonguss, that sort of thing. So I have got red card on here. That is one of the sort of standout points of this Volcarona. I have got Whirlwind on this Volcarona as well, which is quite interesting. Hopefully you saw my round 1 game of day 2. You know, that video was on, I think, 3 days ago, where Volcarona did so much work. You know, in game 1, I switched Volcarona in on there, set up Xerneas, red carded it out. Game 2, played some mind games, red carded out his Rayquaza as he extreme speeded me, but I had Whirlwind as well, so I could Whirlwind as I protect my Xerneas to, you know, get rid of his Xerneas. So, yeah, Volcarona just wins the mirrors. It's fantastic. Volcarona, I don't really bring it too much. It is mostly for the mirror, but also maybe if Bronzong is going to be an issue, I could really take Volcarona, I suppose. I mean, it is nice with Rayquaza as well, because obviously Steel types do threaten this team quite a bit. And, you know, if they've got a Kyogre thinking it's safe, I can switch in my Rayquaza, you know, get the Airlock or the Delta Stream, and, you know, still be able to overheat and, you know, get rid of their Steel Pokemon. I've got Overheat on here instead of Fiery Dance, which I do quite like, or Flamethrower, just because this Volcarona hasn't got any special attack investment, as you can see. So the Overheat means that it still one-shots Mawile, you know, obviously 90% of the time with the accuracy. It still one-shots Ferrothorn as well, which is nice. And it does a big chunk of damage to Bronzong as well. Interestingly, like I remember in day 1 against Marcus, he like I had my Volcarona out, he had his Bronzong out, trying to go for a Trick Room. He brought his Kyogre in, thinking, oh, I'll be safe from an overheat. I just Whirlwinded him out to stop him Trick Rooming. I did then end up losing that game, but I just thought that was a really nice turn to remember. So Whirlwind has got some more uses. I mean, obviously Trick Room can be a little bit of an issue for this team, so Whirlwind can, you know, get rid of them as they're trying to set up Tailwind rather. Trick Room, rather. And obviously it helps against the mirror, so that I can Whirlwind out the Xerneas. Overheat, like I said, deals with the Steel types. Rage Powder is really nice as well. I mean, Volcarona is, I think, probably like an overlooked support Pokemon to pair with Xerneas, because obviously Xerneas doesn't like Steel types. Volcarona does like going up against Steel types. You know, I can overheat them, but also I can just Rage Powder away, you know, Bullet Punches. I can Rage Powder away Iron Heads, you know, Meteor Mashes, whatever. And with the Flame Body, I've got a chance to burn them too. So, you know, this support Volcarona is something that I do actually really like. Although, you know, I suppose I do have, you know, some nightmares of, I saw, like, I played one game on Showdown, led Smeargle, no I didn't, I led with Volcarona and Xerneas. They led with Mawile and Thundurus, and I thought, oh, I'm safe here, I can just go for a Rage Powder. Nope, their Thundurus used Sky Drop on Volcarona, so the Rage Powder wasn't in effect anymore, so thank you, whoever that was. You left me scarred there. But, yeah, so, I mean, obviously there are ways around it, but, and Whimsicott could be a problem for this team as well, because I couldn't Rage Powder away, you know, the Grass-type Whimsicotts, Encores, or, you know, Moonblasts, or anything like that as well. So Whimsicott could potentially be an issue. It is timid, and I have got an interesting EV spread here. This EV spread is the last thing that I did change about the team, actually. The speed is just to outspeed Smeargle and Primals, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think this outspeeds max speed primal Pokemon. No, it doesn't. It outspeeds max speed primal Pokemon with neutral speed nature. So like an Adamant Groudon or a Modest Kyogre. It outspeeds that, and it outspeeds max speed Smeargle as well. So that's really nice because, you know, obviously Scrafty doesn't outspeed Smeargle. It's nice to have as many things, I think, that outspeed Smeargle as possible. So outspeeding Smeargle meant that, you know, I can attack it with, you know, like a Rayquaza or the Xerneas or whatever, and double into it with Overheat as well and knock it out with its Focus Sash. So that works nicely. The rest of it is into physical bulk. I've got 180 in defense and I've got max in physical defense, because that will make sure that I 100% survive. I think it's Adamant Double Edge from Kangaskhan, which is really nice. Obviously, I mean, you know, obviously with Kangaskhan, there's 2 chances for the Flame Body as well. So, you know, maybe that wasn't even necessary to do it 100% like that. But I really did like this spread, and it did do some business for me. I am using, you know, there's only 3 stats here. You know, I could have maybe gone 2-4-4 defense and put 1 in speed, 1 in defense and 1 in special attack and 1 in special defense, just to get, you know, another stat point out of it. But I did think that You know, an extra stat point in special attack wasn't going to do anything for me really. And just having that 100% survival on, you know, max attack adamant Kangaskhan was really important. So that's the Volcarona. You know, red card, really good against you know, against the Mirror, against the Xerneas. Whirlwind again to knock it out. Overheat. You know, just being a fire type works really well with Xerneas as well to threaten against the steel types. The only downside, I suppose, is how volatile red card can be. I did have a game in day one, I think it was day one, where where I red carded my opponent out into their Talonflame on the turn that I Geomancied up and he had a Lipid out. So basically, he could just Brave Bird my Volcarona as I was Rage Powdering, and would still be able to Encore my Xerneas into Geomancy. So, you know, if I red carded into something else, I would have won that game there and then. But you know, red card can be a little bit volatile. It can be a bit unpredictable sometimes, and that can put some people off. And I totally understand that. It doesn't work 100% of the time by any means, but when it does work, it's fantastic. So there you go. That's Volcarona. Who else have we got on the team then? We've got one more Pokemon. We have got Thundurus. So I've used Thundurus every time I have been to Worlds, apart from 14, the LCQ in 14, because it wasn't legal, obviously. So I used Thundurus in 13 and in 15, and I've used it this year as well, but this Thundurus was different to any of the Thundurus that I've used before. Now, it's interesting. It's really on here just to fill a really niche role like I've put on there. I felt like Crobat was a real issue for this team. You know, if you take Thundurus out, then Crobat is a real issue for this team. I suppose Talonflame, you know, was even more of an issue for the team as well, but Crobat especially, just because they can Tailwind, they can Haze, you know, they can do all sorts of stuff to stop my Xerneas from setting up. So if I saw a Crobat, then, you know, chances were that I would take Thundurus. And you know, like I'm pretty sure I said in, like, you know, a video a couple of days ago, I did not take Thundurus at all on day one at Worlds. So I was really close to swapping Thundurus out, you know, in the gap between day one and day two. If I was going to swap it, it would have probably been to an Aegislash, because I did recognise that Mega Gengar was a big problem for this team as well, and Bronzong as well. You know, I did play Marcus, you know, on day one, and he had the Mega Gengar and the Bronzong. It was, you know, basically the world's winning team, and Aegislash would have been really good against that matchup. You know, could have helped with Wide Guard. You know, I could have had Shadow Sneak on there maybe to help with the Mega Gengar, but you know, Mega Gengar don't always have, or not very often these days, have a Ghost move. So Aegislash would have been really good against that, and it was really tempting me. Obviously, it's good against Xerneas as well, but I thought, let's just stay with Thundurus. You know, there's a reason why I went with Thundurus in the first place. You know, I didn't come across any Crobat in day one. But I did in day two, so I'm really happy that I stuck with Thundurus, so that I could taunt it, I could, you know, maybe even try and knock it out, especially Talonflame, knock it out with a Thunderbolt as well. Thunder Wave helps. The second to last change I made with this team, you know, after the Volcarona spread, is I took Hidden Power Water off of this Thundurus as well. It did have Hidden Power Water with my, you know, I've not got Kyogre on this team, but I have got Rayquaza, and it meant that I would be able to two-hit KO Groudon with Hidden Power Water, basically, and that would have actually been pretty nice for me against Jonathan Evans. So, you know, I'm a little bit kicking myself that I took Hidden Power Water off there, because I didn't use Protect at all in the tournament. So, so that's that. I did go for a bulky Thundurus as well. The spread here survives Kangaskhan Double Edge with the Citrus Berry. I can't remember exactly what the spread. I made it a while ago. It's really, really physically, really specially bulky, as you can see. I'm pretty sure it survives an Eruption and probably most Water Spout as well. If I was going to change this Thundurus, then I probably would put Hidden Power Water back on. I might even try going, you know, fast offensive as well. So, you know, I haven't even used a Life Orb on this team, so maybe I could have Life Orb Thundurus, and that would threaten the one-shot onto Groudon with Hidden Power Water as well. I did go Timid with 4 speed, because that outspeeds Neutral, Max, Primals as well. It's a few points faster than the Volcarona, basically, so it's faster than Smeargle as well. So, you know, again, it was important, I thought, for Thundurus to be faster than Smeargle, so I could potentially, you know, double into it with a Thunderbolt on something as well. Yeah, it's a taunt for the Crobat, Thunder Wave to help out. Protect didn't use at all, but it was on there in theory for if I led and they led with like a Kangaskhan or something like that. just because Fake Out is normally pretty free into Thundurus. But yeah, I mean, like I've put on here, this Thundurus was largely untested. I did play around with Thundurus a little bit on Showdown before, but I hardly took it, to be honest. And really, you know, day one at Worlds, I could have done it with a 5 Pokemon team. I didn't use Thundurus at all. So, you know, there you go. Thundurus, I'm happy that I still took it. But I probably would have used something a little bit different than this, in hindsight, I suppose. But, you know, I really can't complain. Let's have a look at a few of the, some of the threats, some of the issues for the team then. So, as we've got here, lots of things that my team really doesn't like playing against. So, Mega Mawile, you know, one of the reasons why I was, you know, not unhappy. I mean, well, okay, obviously I was unhappy to go out, to get knocked out of the tournament. But one of the reasons why I was satisfied with my top 8 is because I didn't play a Mega Mawile at all at Worlds. Not in day 1, not in day 2. I didn't come across any Mega Mawile. And Mega Mawile can be a problem. I mean, obviously I've got ways of playing around it. I have got Volcarona, so I can Rage Powder away attacks. I can just overheat it and knock it out as well. I can intimidate it with Scrafty, but you know, even intimidated, it will be knocking out my Scrafty with Play Rough. You know, obviously it can't have a Lumberry as well, so I could put it to sleep as well. You know, maybe even transform into it too. But Mega Mawile could have been an issue for the team. So I was happy that I didn't come across it. But you know, likewise, Mega Gengar was a massive issue for this team as well, especially with Will-O-Wisp too, because it meant that it outspeeds my Rayquaza and it outspeeds my Xerneas. It could you know, do a massive chunk to my Xerneas. It normally wasn't a one-shot, but if they got the poison with the Sludge Bomb, then game over pretty much. So that 30% chance to effectively one-shot in a way wasn't very good. Outspeeds Rayquaza and can burn it as well. So Mega Gengar was a real issue for this team, and really that was why I was considering using Aegislash in that in the Thundurus slot too. So Mega Gengar, big problem. Bronzong was a problem as well. You know, obviously using Xerneas and Rayquaza, Bronzong is going to be an issue as well because it resists both of my restricted Pokemon's attacks, and you know, obviously can threaten back with a Gyro Ball. It can Trick Room up as well. Trick Room could potentially be an issue. So I really did need to play around Bronzong smartly. Whimsicott was an issue for this team as well. You know, maybe like an overlooked issue, I suppose, because like I was saying, I can't Rage Powder away its Encores or anything like that. And if maybe I want to put Scrafty into Quick Guard on its Encores, then it can just Moonblast me instead. You know, maybe even predict my Scrafty switch in and Moonblast it and knock it out in one hit too. So, really, Whimsicott could have been a big problem. I did lose to a Whimsicott on day 1 as well, because, you know, got a bit of a double whammy here. Is Whimsicott used Trick Room, yay! So yeah, that wasn't very good. Talonflame, like I've been saying as well, could be an issue for the team. I mean, you know, if you took Thundurus out of this team, I've got a Volcarona, I've got a Scrafty, I've got a Scarfed Smeargle, yeah, I've got a Xerneas that can't hit it for anything other than not very effective damage, and I've got Rayquaza as well. So, you know, Thundurus, I suppose, was required for Talonflame, but Talonflame could be an issue for the team. And, you know, as you saw against, I mean, actually, you know, thinking about it, look at that. I mean, 3 Pokemon that Jonathan Evans had is on my sort of list of you know, threats, really. The Mega Gengar, the Bronzong, and the Talonflame as well. And that, you know, his Talonflame had the Chesto Berry as well to help with my my Smeargle. So, yeah, that was a pretty harsh matchup, I suppose. But, you know, I talked about it yesterday. I'm not really going to get into that now. And the last thing I've just sort of put on here, like a token Ditto, really. Or that could go for Smeargle with Transform as well. You know, other Smeargle with Transform. Because, you know, this team works so much on setting up. Like, setting up my Geomancy, setting up my Swords Dance. If they've got a Ditto, then I really am reluctant to set up. You know, really. Because, I mean, sometimes they can even have a red card on them as well, can't they? So, I didn't want to fall into that trap. Smeargle with Transform as well, like if I maybe Protect on like a Fake Out or something like that, and they just transform into my Rayquaza or you know, Xerneas or whatever, then that could be really bad for me as well. So I really did have to sort of play smartly if I saw a Ditto, or if I suspected Transform onto on the Smeargle as well. And I've put Trick Room on here as well. I've got plays of you know, dealing with Trick Room. You know, like I said, I got Whirlwind. I can trick them or switcheroo them my choice scarf as well. But like if I switcheroo them a choice scarf, then I mean, yeah, they will be sort of forced to switch out the next turn. But I've still got 3 more turns of trick room that I need to stall out. If I can stall them out, then I think I'm doing all right. But often that is quite difficult. So maybe there were some issues there too. But you know what? It doesn't matter, does it? Let's have a look at what else we've got on here. Okay, so we've got my world run on here as well. So let's take a moment to have a look at the screen, because I'm really happy with how my world's tournament run went. Look at all these wins. Yeah, I mean it's even more satisfying to know that I went through day 1 as well, because like I didn't do too well. I mean, I only went to 1 national this year, the UK one. But I didn't top cut. I sort of basically choked away round 8 or whatever it was. I had the win, and threw it away. So that really didn't leave me with a happy taste, because I had top cut nationals at UK every other year from 2013 onwards. So I wasn't very happy to not top cut UK. But basically, like going 6-2 on day 1 is effectively like top cutting a national. Going 6-1 on day 2 is pretty much like top cutting a national as well. So to do it 2 days in a row, yeah, I'm happy with that. Especially because I'm against some of the best players in the world as well, and from lots of different countries as well. From literally like players from around the world. As you can see, like playing players from Colombia, UK, Mexico, United States, Taiwan, Philippines, Germany, Singapore, Japan, Hong Kong, Canada, so many different countries, and that's one of the really good things about Worlds too. But day 1, I mean, like I touched on this in previous videos. I went to a flying start, went 5-0. When you only need 6 wins, then I lost round 6, lost round 7, and lost the first game of round 8, but managed to with transform and switcheroo and some smart Smeargle plays, managed to clutch my way through into day 2 there. So it was almost over actually. This report would have been a lot different if that round 8 would have gone different on day 1. Interesting to note as well that on day 1 I did actually play 4 people that made day 2 from day 1. So round 1, Raf from the UK, he made day 2. Kamal made day 2 as well. Round 6 and round 7, Marcus and Nimiel made day 2 as well. And 2 others on there went 5-3 as well. So I actually had a pretty tough run on day 1. Of all of the 6-2s actually, I was the highest 6-2 resistance-wise on day 1 as well. So I had a pretty tough run. So I am glad that obviously I'm glad that I made it through day 1. Day 2, it's really funny that I did better on day 2 than I did day 1. You can see like how the players went as well here. Hideyuki round 1. When I won that game, when I played pretty well in that, I thought, yeah, I've got something going here. Unfortunately, he dropped, and round 4, Yosuke, he dropped as well. So resistance would have probably put me a bit higher in the 6-1s as well on Worlds, and the whole top cut would have worked out different. But not complaining about that at all. It's just an observation. Round 2 though, I lost to Edward Chung from Hong Kong. And that was quite painful actually, because he had a really standard double primal Cresselia team, and I'm pretty sure, like I remember, like every game I think, or at least the first 2 games, I led Smeargle Xerneas, he led with the Kangaskhan, and he didn't fake out my Smeargle. It's like he knew I was scarfed and knew that I was going to be faking out his partner or doing something else like that. So he made the good move. He made the right moves. It just was strange to me how he was playing, and he ended up going 5-2. So that's pretty good too. That's a top cut, isn't it? Actually, yeah, he ended up top cutting. So looking at that, I played 3 people who actually top cut Worlds as well during my day 2 run. But then I won every other game. Round 3, round 4, 5, 6, 7. Won every other game to go 6-1. Really satisfying, obviously, because I did go 6-1. I didn't need to play in the round of 24. Beat Jamie Boyd. Unfortunately, we had to be paired in the top 16, and then as you saw yesterday, lost to Jonathan Evans. But again, not complaining. I mean, look at all of those wins, and this is at Worlds as well. That's Worlds day 1 and day 2. I won 13 out of 17 sets of best of 3. With a scarfed Smeargle, I had a 76% win rate in best of 3s. So I'm pretty proud of that. I'm really, 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 really happy with that. You know, such an amazing experience, and I just want to really say thank you to everyone who supported me. You know, especially you know, I love this picture. You know, all of you in this picture, and everyone else who isn't in the picture who was, you know, cheering my name as well. You know, just an amazing experience. You know, this was against Jonathan Evans. I'd lost at this point, but you wouldn't be able wouldn't be able to tell it looking at my face, I suppose, would you? Yeah, I just lost the game. I'd just been knocked out of Worlds at that point. But you know, all of you guys, you know, how could I be sad? How could I be upset? You know, you were cheering me, you were chanting my name, and that is something that I will remember for a long time. So really, all of you guys, that means a lot to me. You know, I suspect that, you know, a number of you watch my channel as well. So, you know, really, this is a thank you to you. You know, really, all of you. You know, thank you to you know, my friends as well. You know, Jamie Boy, I did a lot of talking with before Worlds to you know, sort of iron out teams and sort of see what he did with his version of his team against things and all that sort of stuff. Thank you to Lyo as well. You know, Boyt and Lyo are really two of my closest Pokemon friends, and Lyo as well. I talked to him a lot about what I was going to use at Worlds and what I'd do in situations as well. So, you know, you two especially, but I mean, like, everyone who I've talked to, you know, all of the Jamies, you know, all of my friends, and you know, Eden as well, who I you know, did my practice on the actual DS consisted of one best of 3, like the day before I set off to Worlds. Actually, it was the day I set off to Worlds. So, you know, thanks for that as well. So yeah, I mean, I could not be happier. I mean, well, okay, I suppose I could be happier. I could have won Worlds, couldn't I? But no, I'm not complaining. I had a fantastic run, top 8 at Worlds. I finally beat my 9th at Worlds from 2013. I didn't think I'd do that. So yeah, super, super, super happy. Yeah, I mean, a little bit of confusion. Like, one of the judges at Worlds, I asked what my final position was. They said I was 6th, but yeah, looking back on it, I am actually 7th. But you know, it doesn't really make any difference, does it? I'm top 8. So yeah, really, really, thank you everyone. I've had, like, from this season being like a massive low point for me, like, I did not like this format, I wasn't doing very well, to the best I've ever done, 7th place at Worlds. If you're watching this, thank you very much for all of your support, for everything. Please like this video if you think it deserves a like. Please share it as well if you know, you want to get this team out there. Obviously, try it yourself if you want to try it. But you know, Wolf's winning team with the yeah, the Mega Gengar and the Bronzong and everywhere, I'm supposing is going to be everywhere as well, and it's got a pretty bad matchup against that. So so it's up to you if you want to try it out. But yeah, thanks for everything. You know, please like and share, get it out there. Really appreciate everything. So thank you, and one big goodbye for now.